Pull the mic down.
And having their own meetings, the city, the county, and Escambia County Housing and Finance Authority. Today, the county is holding a meeting on Crawford Manor and Avery Place to vote on the same bond financing. Why are these decisions happening simultaneously instead of in partnership with the communities most affected by them? Yes, the meetings are technically public, but the structure guarantees that we never see the full picture. After attending these meetings, I learned something troubling. The people holding political seats in the city do not communicate with one another. Agendas are being rushed, pushed through, and voted on without community input. The award to Bayou District Consulting LLC is an example. Public records show that one of the competing firms withdrew from the oral process because they saw where the scoring was going. The mayor held an invite-only meeting with Mr. Burris in 2023, followed by Columbia Park Tour in 2024. Now the other firms never stood a chance. Councilmember Ms. Patton, you're correct that this project isn't physically displacing residents the way Columbia Park did. Displacement in Pensacola is happening in another way, through the CRA itself. By labeling predominantly black neighborhoods as blighted, and funneling redevelopment dollars primarily downtown into the urban core. Do I need to wait to speak on Crawford Manor, or can I do that now?
Thanks. This is part of your battle. Oh, gotcha. Then you'll need to fill out a speaker phone.
Okay, well, I did it for 14, 15, and 16, so I just need to come back up.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Next speaker is Daniel Harris.
There seems to be a lot of people that are very concerned about the specific company that you guys have chosen to go forward with this process. And I just don't see why you need to rush that vote tonight with so much concern in the community. You need to take a step back and let's breathe for a minute and discuss it some more and figure out why everybody is so worried about this corporation. Some space.
Next speaker is Diane Crummell. Diane Crummell.
Here's the topic, here's what I've got to say. Reject it. I have canvassed and spoken with people in those neighborhoods around Baptist Hospital for years. I've listened to them. Let me tell you, those people have been hurting. They're being displaced. Due to the gentrification of 5 neighborhoods, you have already taken away the character of those neighborhoods. I hear it over and over and over again from people in the neighborhoods surrounding Baptist Hospital and how they don't trust the government to do the right thing by them. Blunt Middle School is an all-black school, but no black people live there anymore. What I'm trying to say is no one trusts you, the city council, the mayor, to do the right thing. The people have already spoken. How many studies do you want to have? And for that matter, and with all due respect, the demolition of Baptist Hospital should be called back. Rather than take the low bid like you do to small minority companies, it appears you take the high bids from your friends. How exactly does that work? And from what I understand, the disparity in City Hall between what African Americans make and what whites make, I mean, it's shameful. And you know what? It wasn't the Democrats that showed up to doge the city of Pensacola. No, it wasn't Republicans. It was DeSantis. It's not just the people here watching you saying you're not doing the right thing. It's the governor, too, who doesn't trust you and saying you're not doing the right thing. So now everyone from the locals to the governor are on high alert, on watch, with their good old boy ways of doing things. We're telling you to stop it right now. And furthermore, according to the P&J, CRA Chairman Delarian Wiggins was critical of the procurement process that led to the selection of the Bayou District Consulting. I agree with you, Delarian. is not fair and it is not equal. Bio District Consulting was a top choice out of 3 firms that bid on the contract by a 4-member selection committee made up by city employees and former city councilwoman Jewel Canada Wynn. In my opinion, there should have been more than 1 person from the community on this committee. And to be clear, we have 3 city employees and 1 person from the community. Want these 4 people to make a decision about what's going to happen in a predominantly black community? Seriously? And these 3 city employees, do you seriously think they're going to vote against their own boss, Mayor D.C. Reeves? And the committee usually makes the final recommendations based on oral presentations. So my question is, why was Bio District Consulting the only firm to give an oral presentation to the committee after the written proposals were evaluated? How is this fair? I have to ask, is this even legal? And according to an article in the PJ, DC said that the Bayou District's Columbia Park development in New Orleans is a vision of what's possible at the former Baptist Hospital area. Let me remind you that these are the same developers using the same development mode that demolished the St. Bernard's housing project.
Thank you, Mrs. Carney.
Thank you, Attorney.
And I would just ask everyone, please, we're having an orderly night tonight. We're not gonna have heckling from the crowd and that kind of thing. So when somebody comes up to speak, let them speak, totally fine with you showing your support at the end by clapping. I have no problem with that, but we need to remain orderly. So next speaker, Chancellor Martin.
No, nigga, shout it out.
Start quick so I can get my full 3 minutes. I was born and raised in Pensacola off of 8th Street. I own a home a few blocks away from the old Baptist site. I have spent my life volunteering at nonprofits in the neighborhood, including tutoring kids at Milk and Honey and the Fricker Center, and I currently volunteer at a neighborhood community center on East Street. I'm here to ask you not to sign the deal with Bayou District. We don't want to sit at the table with them. We don't want to have pretend planning meetings with them. We don't want them in our city. You should all be sitting up there ashamed of yourselves for even considering making this decision. Bayou District runs people out of their homes and neighborhoods so they can fill their own pockets. They destroyed lives in New Orleans. They destroyed buildings with families' belongings still inside. The residents of St. Bernard were treated like dogs. They were pepper sprayed and tackled at city council meetings, arrested for protesting, and ignored at every turn. Over 900 black families were displaced, and they begged and they fought for the opportunity to return, and they were treated like dogs. If this is something any of you are signing on to support, then you need to just go ahead and resign. We all deserve your honesty, and we aren't getting it. The mayor had an invite-only meeting with Bayou District in 2023 and invited most of y'all up here to New Orleans for a visit and presentation in 2024. This has been in the works for years. This isn't a decision that was made after deliberation. We didn't land on this because it's what's best for the people in my neighborhood. This was a business decision that has been in the works for years, made by the developers that run this city. We aren't asking you for a seat at the kids' table while y'all make the big boy decisions. We know what your big boy decisions are, and we know the history of what the city has done to people who live in the places you decide are right for gentrification. We will not stand for it. We deserve better. There's no scenario in which a deal with Bayou District is a good thing for our community. Today has to be about saying no to Bayou District Consulting. Not yes, but you get an advisory committee. Not yes, but we will call you and ask you for your opinion. Not yes, but we will hire a few people from the neighborhood to help with your demolition. No to developers making decisions that run people out of their neighborhoods. No to racist companies that treat people like trash and lie to our faces while they do it. No to Bayou District Consulting. There's only 2 choices tonight. This isn't confusing. This isn't convoluted. You either choose to stand with the people you were elected to serve, or you choose to stand with the developers. You either choose to tell the truth and be honest with us and with yourselves, or you choose to lie to all of us and lie to yourselves. You either vote to destroy lives, to knowingly and purposely destroy lives for your own benefits, or you vote no to Bayou District Consulting. Thank you.
Harper Cummings.
Arthur hummus. I like hummus. Maybe something like that.
Hello, really glad to hear all the people that came out. Really looking forward to hearing more people give you a piece of their mind about this. What I'm not looking forward to is after the public comment ends, because what we've come to expect from y'all is that we're about to hear a lot of lies from y'all about this company, especially from this mayor. We're about to hear about how Bayou District is a national model. We're about to hear about how good it was for the city of New Orleans that 900 black families were replaced. Not invested in, not given the things they needed, not included in the process, replaced. Well, let me tell you something. We're actually not interested in hearing Bayou District's version of the story. We're not interested in hearing their PR firm's version of the story, because we're not developers. We're not out here trying to make millions of dollars by destroying our neighbors' communities. We're residents of this city. And as a resident of this city, what I'm interested in is the version of the story that the people of New Orleans have, the residents of there have, of what it looks like when Bayou District takes the wheel in planning in your community. People who have already seen what their version of public engagement is. These people fought for their homes. They demanded a right to return to their homes. They were arrested at city council meetings. They were arrested outside the barbed wire fences that were set up to keep them out of their own homes. They were shut out of the process. And Mayor Reeves has been flirting with these criminals for years. He called what they did in New Orleans the model for what he would like to see at the Baptist site. Well, if that's your model, Mayor, then you shouldn't be anywhere near the Baptist site. It doesn't matter if the projects are different. Don't talk to us about that. You don't play with snakes and expect to not get bit. Nobody in the neighborhood asked for this. This came from the top, from the mayor, who used city funds to buzz some of y'all and other local power players to New Orleans to hear a sales pitch from the people you're about to sign a contract with. And then, y'all put out a request for bids that was tailor-made for Bayou District, and surprise, surprise, their bid ended up being the only one that was considered. All of this without the public's knowledge, all of this before a single community meeting was held. That's not leadership, that's a setup. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. If you cared about this community, if you cared about trust, if you cared about transparency, this item wouldn't even be on the agenda tonight. The Baptist site is public land. It belongs to the people of this city. It doesn't belong to outside consultants. It doesn't belong to developers, and it doesn't belong to y'all. It belongs to us, and we demand control over what happens there. So when this public comment is over, we don't want to hear a bunch of PR lies. Impact campaigns, saw y'all here, they're hard at work pushing that story. We want to hear 7 apologies, or 6, I guess, because Casey Jones isn't here. We want to hear 6 votes for no, and I think every one of y'all should call for the resignation of this mayor who has sold out this community.
Stand and move, goddamn.
I hope y'all said Sarah Brummett because the applause was too loud for me to actually hear. But I am Sarah Brummett, and I am a city resident and a homeowner just a few blocks away from the Baptist site. And I know that in your capacity as the CRA, which to me seems like a conflict of interest, but in your capacity as the CRA, you've already approved this contract once, despite every public commenter speaking against it. Some of you suggested, though, that the process by which this bid was selected was murky or it felt a little bit rushed. And I actually think it was very clear. What happened was very clear. D.C. Reeves and his clique of developers who run this city predetermined that they wanted this company to do the work. And so that's why in 2023, our mayor invited Jerry Baruch to a private meeting with local developers. That's why in 2024, our mayor took Pensacola's Powerful over to New Orleans to tour Columbia Park. That's why in 2025, y'all have ignored at every single turn the real and justified concerns of this community because the city already has a plan and you think you can manipulate us into buying that plan. But it wasn't rushed and it wasn't murky. It was just shady and sneaky and totally undemocratic the way this city does business. In fact, y'all told us that a member of the community weighed in on the bids during the CRA meeting. You said, well, we had a community member, but none of y'all mentioned that the community member is a former city council person, part of this establishment. We are not fooled. Several folks made excuses for Bayou District's consulting's sordid history of displacing black families from their homes. A lot of people said, well, it was the storm. Well, it was the storm. I want to go on record that y'all should know. If you don't know, you know now. Those buildings were not destroyed. Preservationists proved that they could be restored restored and people could come back to their homes. People came back to their homes and tried to rebuild their lives and were forcibly removed so that this development could happen. So don't tell me that those buildings were just destroyed by Hurricane Katrina. Additionally, beyond that, you don't have to live on a property to be displaced by development in your neighborhood. That is not how gentrification works, and none of y'all are dumb enough to buy that lie. So don't tell me that just because nobody lives on that property that nobody is going to be displaced. The fact of the matter is, these out-of-town developers have a racist and vile history, and this city's leadership and in-town developers have a history of lying to our faces, and we are sick of it. Do not sign this agreement. Do not have a partnership with Bayou Consulting. Please think seriously about how you are representing yourselves to the people of this city. And if you aren't going to listen to me, you aren't going to listen to the people in this room, we are coming for you, actually. We are going to replace you, and the city is going to be in the hands of the people.
Our next speaker is Brady Solis.
Good evening. My name is Raylene. I was born, currently live, work, and organize with multiple community organizations in the greater Pensacola area, some of which are represented here and who will continue to speak out against this Bayou District Consulting contract. It is disappointing, but not surprising to me that we have to come out for this. Many of us have come out here after working all day. Many of us have loved ones we could be spending time with at home. And it would be really nice to be able to trust the judgment of our elected officials and trust the judgment and intentions of y'all, but we can't, because we know that you are all well aware of how this company treated predominantly Black neighbor communities in New Orleans. We shouldn't have to take the time to yet tell you this is wrong, and that we don't want some out-of-town developing company that collaborates with the city to push out people they seem undesirable by raising costs of living. And we should not have to stand here and remind y'all, yes, remind y'all, because we know you already know the atrocities by District Consulting committed in pursuit of profit over people. If somehow you weren't aware before this week, you were made aware this past Monday by members of the community, some of who are in this room today, to speak out against this contract again. And you, as the CRA, still approved the contract in a 7-0 vote Monday. Again, I am clearly here to urge you to vote no to this Bayou District Consulting contract. If you're here with the interest and well-being of our community in mind, approving this contract with a company that has a history of racist displacement will confirm your intentions to sell out the people of Pensacola to the predatory developers in the city. Thank you.
Next speaker is Michelle Bellingham.
Obviously, I'm here to speak about the new development at Baptist Hospital. I have a 5-year-old grandson in that neighborhood. And I'm gonna touch on something that I don't know who else is gonna touch on in here, but it's not just, Bayou District. And by the way, if you can't tell from my accent, I'm from the New Orleans area, so I know all the buzzwords that goes along with this company, and you're not fooling anybody, not me. So my main concern is the demolition of the building and the fact that nobody's talking about asbestos exposure. And everybody in here that is concerned about that area, that lives within 10 miles of that area, better wake up. Because I don't believe y'all intend to spend near the amount of money to do this demolition properly and not expose these people to asbestos. I don't want my 5-year-old grandson exposed to asbestos and mesothelioma and lung cancer. And I don't think y'all give a damn. I think the only thing that y'all are concerned about here is money. And I can tell you, if this company's being brought in from New Orleans, it's because somebody's got connections and somebody's pockets being lined. And I have no intention of sitting back and watching my grandbaby be poisoned by asbestos because somebody's trying to make money. The only way to properly do this is to encapsulate every damn building with negative airflow. And then what everybody around here needs to be worried about is once it's done, if, and I don't believe it will be done correctly, if it's done correctly, where is the debris going? What are you going to do with it? Because then you're talking about the second exposure to asbestos. I have experience with this. I'm not an environmentalist, but I used to do housing inspections on behalf of FEMA, and I've seen what goes on in areas. My granddad, I'm not gonna stand for it. And I didn't realize that this meeting was even happening until yesterday. Your little secret meeting that you planned in 2023, I heard all about it. Saw the pictures that everybody was in there wearing Rolex and Cartier, by the way. There ain't nobody from that neighborhood sitting in there wearing Rolex and Cartier. And then the little bus ride that went to New Orleans to make it like y'all doing everything right. I want to see the details on how this is being done. Where's your demolition details? What are they going to do in detail to protect people from asbestos exposure? Because people being pushed out and replaced, that's not going to matter if everybody's dying from mesothelioma and lung cancer because nobody bothered to do the proper homework on this subject. It's not okay, and y'all need to stop it. If I'd have known about this beforehand, I'd have come here with even more information to come at you for it. My grandbaby means the world to me, and I will fight you, and I will not stop.
Larry Downs Jr.
Larry Downs Jr. Plumbing LLC, because Pickle Matters. All right. I figure it's appropriate, you know. Plus, we kind of pay for this show, even though I live in the county, I still pay for some, quite a few things here. I have to get permits up here, where we got to beg permission to voluntarily exchange goods and services. But anyways, I told y'all about this whenever y'all were doing it. Right off the rip, I said, it's not gonna be good, it can never be good, because y'all are doing it. This is not something that a government should do. It's gonna be bills, there's gonna be, you know, I don't even know about any of these meetings, if they happen or not with DC and y'all and whoever, I don't know about all that. But, so I can't scold y'all about it, because I don't know about it. But you can see how the perception can be not good. I mean, anytime, and I have nothing against rich people. I love rich people. As long as they do it on their own efforts, you know, their own labor, their own savings, their own investment, and they don't get in bed with our governments. See, that's what happens. I'm gonna speak on another issue that's similar to this, where y'all make a loan to a group of people, or backing it one way or another. But any which way, you know, is the former council member who was the local one, is that Brian Spencer? I don't even know, I just heard the lady say up there. I was like, he's probably one of the only ones that I know who would do something like that. I'm just guessing. I mean, I apologize if I'm wrong. And I think the good old boy system is getting a bad rap. I really do. I think the new system is much worse than the good old boy system. Because at least the good old boy system, they took care of their own. You know what I mean? Y'all are not taking care of your own. That I guarantee you, there ain't a good old boy one who would sit up here and tolerate this stuff for their people. You know what I mean? So whenever, you know, when they bring up that, it makes me sad because it's giving them a bad rap. So anyways, you know, the deals, the partnerships that are going to happen, you know what that. You can't make affordable housing. You can't make affordable commerce. It's a farce. It's a fraud to think that y'all can. I mean, I'm serious. If I was in y'all's shoes, I'd say no, we can't. We can't. The only thing we can do is mess it up. And gentrification, I guess that's how you say it. You know, I'm all for making places better, but I'm not for big corporations controlling our government to make it better. Come on, it just oozes of fraud.
Thank you, Mr. Downs. Our next speaker is Gerald Brown. Gerald Brown.
Gee.
I'm here on that, speaking on for the people in that community. I grew up in Pensacola, however, I'm not a city resident, but I am a member of this community. this is a much pressing issue than, I sat here and listened to the whole drag queen show thing, which blew my mind. I think if we put that energy that we're concerned about people in drag into this effort, we probably make more strides. Because, or take that energy, instead of worry about drag queens, let's worry about this government coming up with pedophiles. But in this community, this body district coming in here and taking over and doing what they did in New Orleans is going to be a travesty to the people of this community. We know what this company did in New Orleans. There's not one person who has came up here and said one good word about this company. I don't have to go through the details because everybody knows what this company did in New Orleans. Everybody knows all the people that were displaced. Everybody knows that when they did rebuild, the people that were there in that community could not move back into their own community because they couldn't afford it. These people did not have the money to live on the golf course. Just like the people of this community. They don't have the money to live on the golf course. The wages there are probably $40,000 a year per household. So this company is gonna come in, put us whatever they want to put on that property, then they're gonna develop the property around it, and the people that are there will be pushed out, and they won't be able to come back in. So we're up here this is just protocol right here, because you guys have made your decision as to what you're gonna do. But I'm bothered by the fact that I was invited to a meeting that never happened at this reality. I showed up to the meeting. I was invited. I was personally invited to a meeting. I showed up at the meeting to come to find out the meeting wasn't happening. Nobody bothered to call me, text me, email me, send me a smoke signal. Nobody did anything. That pissed me off. Because 3 minutes is not enough time for me to say what I have to say. But we, as a community, don't want Bayou District in our community. And if this panel is listening to the community, then Bayou District won't be here. But if you all gonna make your own decisions and screw these people, then we'll see Bayou District come in here and destroy the people of this community.
Cameron Brown. Can you hear me? All right, I'm Cameron Brown. I'm actually resident of Destin, Florida, and I just came out here to stand in solidarity with the rest of the Pensacola working class. I do want to make a note that real estate speculators have been buying up our properties nationwide and charging us rent for the properties to pay off the mortgage and property tax. And I will say that I will keep coming out here 2 days later to help register people to repeat what every speaker has done before us. And I yield my time. Thank you very much. Next is Sean Blackman.
Good evening. My name is Sean Blackman, and I'm here with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. And I came to say this evening that the city's plans to place the old Baptist site in the hands of the Bayou District Consulting is nothing short of a betrayal of the people of Pensacola. Bayou District Consulting was a core part of a brutal and racist process that denied the people of New Orleans a voice in the fate of the St. Bernard projects, who were silenced and violently assaulted for daring to speak out against this injustice. Mayor D.C. Reeves describes this as, quote, the model of what he would like to see at the Baptist site. The single most powerful elected official in our city celebrates the idea of people being pepper sprayed and dragged out of meetings by police for righteously fighting back against their displacement. But this comes as no great surprise. BDC and Pensacola City Hall are birds of a feather when it comes to hollowing out a city of its people and culture. What these money-hungry thieves did to St. Bernard is precisely what all of you did to Hawkshaw, Tanyard, the Maritime Park, and Arrogant Court. Nothing but lies, equivocation, backdoor dealing, and a complete disregard for the human beings who will be directly impacted by your deceit, your greed, your massive unearned egos, and your gross cowardice. And in case anyone here tonight hasn't noticed, the lies have already begun. You all have told us that the community will lead the process of what happens at the Old Baptist site, but in reality, all of BDC's sanitized and silver-tongued public engagement messaging will be filtered through a PR firm called Impact Campaigns, who has decided to darken our doorstep this evening. We've been told that Bayou District Consulting is, quote, just advising on the project and that they're seeking community input, when the contract and the bid outline make clear that the city will hand over power completely to BDC so that decisions around land use, the redevelopment model, and more will be squarely in the hands of wealthy developers. We've been told that Columbia Park, which replaced St. Bernard, is a success story that will be replicated here in Pensacola, when in reality, what it all really succeeded in was wiping a historic black neighborhood off the map, erasing them from the city and from history. As a proud son of Pensacola, I cannot sit quietly as you all try to bring this plague to our city. But this isn't about the frustration of an individual. No. What you're hearing and seeing tonight is part of an organized fight back to stop the city from selling out our people's interests to the highest bidder. We know that you all think the people of this city are disorganized, ignorant, and ineffective. But if you really think we're going to stand idly by while you give all these insults in our face, then I'm afraid you haven't even begun to consider the true power of Pensacola's people. Thank
you. Those who have those signs, please raise them up. That's how many people agree with what I'm about to say. That's how many people reject this contract. My name is Girasol Alfonso, and I'm an immigrant organizer with Defense of Gulf Coast. Reeves, you have said that the New Orleans Columbia Park is the model for what you want to see on Baptist. Does your vision also include pepper spraying us who are here at this city council meeting? Does your vision also include locking people out of their homes like Bayou District has done in New Orleans? Bulldozing people's houses whose things were still inside? Do you love all of that? Do you adore the fact that Bayou District has permanently displaced a black community in New Orleans? And do you want the same to happen here in Pensacola? The same or similar, whichever way. Because if your model is Columbia Park, then your answer to all of these questions is yes. And shame on you for that. To the people behind me, the Pensacolans in this room, all of what I have said is what Bayou District Consulting has done in New Orleans. More than 90% of the residents in that community were never able to go back, even though they desperately wanted to, and they in fact fought against that displacement. These people right here can talk all they want about how nice Columbia Park is today, but do not let them fool you. The people in New Orleans who fought back against the Columbia Park project were pepper sprayed in meetings like this. They were arrested. They were ignored by their city, ignored by Bayou District, and we cannot let the same thing happen here. We will not let you ignore us. The community around Baptist is a minority community, a predominantly black community. There are immigrants and Latinos in that community who are already having to deal with harassment by ICE. And now you are threatening to gentrify their neighborhood. Shame on you for that. To this body, you know that as community members, we are watching you. We know DC Reeves has been absolutely in love with Columbia Park since 2023, when you presented Columbia Park as a project for what you want to see happen on Baptist. And regardless of what is decided tonight, we will continue to pay attention to what happens here on Baptist, because this is our home. We will continue to fight back against these moves because this is our city. This is our community, our people. Like someone said earlier, we are not here to sit at the table. After we're done speaking, you might mention that Bayou District has engaged the community. They ask people for their opinion. Well, we don't want community engagement. We want community control. Thank you. Next speaker, Epstein.
Good evening, my name is Sam, and I'm here tonight to oppose the contract with Bayou District Consulting. It seems to me that this body is trying to mischaracterize and minimize the damage this company will do. With your remarks on the CR meeting the other night, it seems clear that y'all would like us to believe that Bayou District Consulting won't have too much power, and that they will just be orchestrating meetings with stakeholders and soliciting community feedback. Well, we've seen how that works in the city, and we've seen how it works with Bayou District in New Orleans. Hosting toothless workshops and town halls where professionals are paid to make community members feel listened to while actually managing public opinion to create a way for gentrification. And that is not soliciting public input. That's actually just a PR campaign. That's actually just pacifying us. We don't want this project to be marketed to us. We know the history behind the city. Our mayor's dad was all wrapped up in a similar marketing scheme where they ran Black Pensacola out of Aragon Court and replaced it with multi-million-dollar grants. We know the marketing game, which the city employed when it destroyed Malcolm Young Gym and conveniently gave some land away to an expensive event venue adjacent to the property. This city has, over and over, steamrolled the interests of our people while pretending to care about our input. Well, we're here right now to give you input. Our input is, Bayou District Consulting has a racist and violent history and has no place in our city and certainly not our neighborhood. Our input is, we don't want them to displace us. Our input is, if you vote for this, y'all are proving that you cannot be trusted. We want the neighborhood to be invited in, not to give non-bidding answers in a survey or a workshop, but to actually have a voice and vote on what happens. Thank you for your time. Next speaker is Calista Brown. Mr. Brown.
My name is Calista Brown, and I am demanding on behalf of myself, a longtime resident of Pensacola, and my entire community, for the City Council of Pensacola to vote no on our contract regarding turning over the old Baptist property to Bayou District Counseling. As you all know, Bayou District was the company responsible for the forced displacement of thousands of Black residents that lived in the St. Bernard housing project after Hurricane Katrina. And as you all know, the project was actually structurally sound and safe to return to after the hurricane. But as you all know, Bayou District forcibly kept these residents out of their homes by means of barbed wiring the properties and pepper spraying the residents at city council meetings so that they could redevelop it into Columbia Park, an apartment complex unaffordable by 90% of the original residents of the property. Now we, the Pensacola community, have been vocal for years about our concerns of Baptist Hospital and the area around it being gentrified. And as a resident of Pensacola, I find it deeply concerning that our own mayor, D.C. Reeves, called this incident at Columbia Park the model for what he wants to see in our community at the property on East Street. The fact that Mayor Reeves takes inspiration from a project that used a natural disaster as an opportunity to force people out of their community in order to gentrify it is not only shameful, but that should bar him from even having a place in the planning of this project, as it would completely undermine his title as a public servant. Give us, the people of Pensacola, control over what happens with the old Baptist Hospital property on East Street, not developing companies that would sacrifice the most vulnerable members of our community if it meant raising their bottom line. Vote no on the contract with Bayou District Counseling. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alexandra Hatley. To speed this up, on deck is Patricia Burke. Ms. Hatley.
Good evening, and hello, Professor Brayer. It's been a minute, and yeah. So I'm actually not a resident here in the Pensacola area. I'm a resident over in Cantonment. But it doesn't mean that the issue of Bayou District Consulting coming in here doesn't still affect how I feel about this issue. As we know, and as we've heard many times tonight, 920 families were affected by Bayou District Consulting, and only 120 were allowed back. That means that 800 people were displaced belongings were destroyed in the demolition. And when they did try to fight for their homes, they were met with violence. How can that be footsteps at our city that we want to take, that we want to follow in? People in this very room, their lives would be affected by district consulting having a say over what happens to the Old Baptist Hospital. But you guys should vote no on this, and the fact that they should not be awarded $300,000 in 180 days of this planning. The people in this room should be at the table of the decisions of Pensacola. And I tried so hard tonight to try and find the right words, to try and find what I wanted to say, to write the perfect thing. But I think at the end of the day, and I would like to use the rest of my time to say that you can reimagine Palafox, you can turn Pensacola into something unrecognizable, but at the end of the day, what makes Pensacola beautiful are the people. And it's the people sitting in this room. It's the people who run this city. And it's the people whose lives would be affected if you vote yes on this tonight. But I also want to leave you with this. No matter how you vote, whether it's a yes or a no, the people will we will keep educating ourselves. We will make sure that the people of Pensacola are educated. And we will keep showing up to talk to all of you, and you will not discourage us, no matter what your vote is tonight. Because we know that it does not end here. And we know that you will not, the gentrification of Pensacola doesn't end here tonight. You will keep going on. Because these people matter and their voices matter. Thank you.
And after Patricia is Jermaine Williams. Is that Patricia?
Oh, shit.
Good evening. I'm Patsy Rourke. I own a house in Pensacola. I'm a city resident. And I'm concerned about the path we seem to be on. From my viewpoint, we seem to be under a dictatorship. The people's issues, you might listen to them, but you've already made up your mind. I sort of feel like a lot of people waste their time even talking to you. Because like the Malcolm Young, that was already decided. After we put in a lot of hours to keep it, it was gone 2 seconds. This public property that is being decided upon by a few people, when it clearly affects many people in the surrounding areas, and really the whole city, because everywhere I look, there are more apartments going up. It's getting more crowded. People are getting more discontented. And why can't you hire someone who cares about Pensacola to be the committee to decide what happens on that property? Why is it always outside people who come in and give us their ideas about what our city should be? We want to make the input. We want to have a voice in this. We don't want their outside ideas. We're Pensacola. We love our oak trees. We don't want 38 trees destroyed at the Baptist property. It is our property. It does not belong to you. It belongs to the public. But we are not treated like it's ours. Before you know it, things happen, we don't even like it. So I would like to make a proposal. I would like to propose that you keep the footprint of the Baptist Hospital for your renovation, renewal, rebuilding, and you leave the trees and make part of it a park, something people could enjoy. Does everything have to be commercial and concrete? I mean, wouldn't it be nice to have a park similar to Bayview in that area of town to those people? Don't they deserve a park? Don't we, people like me, I mean, I may be a bona fide tree hugger, but there are more than 65 heritage oaks on that property. These oaks are supposed to be protected by an ordinance. I just been being shot down right and left. What good is a tree ordinance if nobody follows it? Why do we have a tree ordinance then? That's about all I have to say.
All right, thank you.
I think you heard me.
Jermaine Williams, and after Jermaine Williams, the next Winder.
I'm having a good day. Y'all having a good day? All right, look, I'm gonna just be honest. It's rare when I come down here and all my talking points, it's just gone. I got nothing to say, but I got 2 minutes. So what I wanna say is thank you to the citizens. If y'all against this, please stand. If you're against this, Bayou District. All right, look at all these faces. Boy, y'all look good. Y'all can have a seat. Didn't I tell y'all they were coming? Last time I was here. Y'all laughed. Councilman Bryant, you said upstairs in my house, you know, Mayor, you just been silent. I don't know what you did. And the Christians, you know, this is what it looks like when our survival is on the line and we don't care about a drag show. So, I told y'all this day was coming. Black people gonna wake up, black and brown, and allies, all alike. Told y'all this. And, you know, you guys had every opportunity to make this right. Mayor Reeves, I said in the office, I said, hey, we could settle this right now. I ain't heard from you. Sorry, Councilman Moore, I called you back today. I ain't heard from you either. Yeah, I'm just wasting time, man, because I brought my people with me tonight. They loud. They real loud. Where y'all want to go to eat after this? Wrong face here, it's on him.
Good evening, council members, mayor, and representatives that may be here from Bayou District. My name is Sharnita Wiggins-Winder. I am a proud 34-year veteran educator at Dixon School of Arts and Sciences, a voice for our students, and a former child who lived in the area just steps from the district that you are preparing to transform. I served as a clerk in this neighborhood ensuring our rights to vote, and I stand here tonight not to oppose redevelopment, but to oppose displacement. And I'm here to hold this council accountable and any other development company that may come in, because we have witnessed what has unchecked development can do. We saw it in New Orleans after Katrina, where an entire black community, once vibrant and whole, never returned. We see it in Atlanta, where historic neighborhoods are being reshaped for people who never lived there. Pensacola cannot become the next chapter of that story. This district holds the lives of lifelong residents, the culture of black-owned businesses, and the daily steps of Dixon School students, many from Addicts Court, whose futures depend on stability, belonging, and home. If this redevelopment moves forward without protections, we risk losing the very people who are this community. We risk a future where only those inside cradle to college, pipelines, or those who can afford golf course lifestyles are welcome back. And that is unacceptable. So tonight I demand safeguards that are not symbolic, but enforceable. So here are my suggestions. Anti-displacement must be non-negotiable. Inclusionary zones, rent stabilization, just cause eviction protections, right of first refusal, relocation assistance, property tax freezes. Secondly, community power must be formalized. A legally binding community benefits agreement, a resident-led oversight committee, exploration of a community land trust, Culture and business must be preserved. Zoning that reflects the identity of this historic Black neighborhood. Protection and support for Black-owned businesses so they are not erased, replaced, or priced out. Investments that honor the heritage of those who built this community despite decades of inequity. To the community, we must stay engaged from the beginning. Show up united, share our lived experiences, and demand transparency. And in closing, council members, you are making decisions that will echo for generations. This cannot become another New Orleans or Atlanta. This must be a moment where Pensacola leads with equity, courage, and accountability. If redevelopment is to happen, let it uplift the people already here. Let it secure homes, not sacrifice them. And progress should never cost the community its people. We are watching, we are organized, and we will hold you both accountable, the council and any development company.
Lisa Brown.
Hey y'all, what's up? So, you know, my roles usually, I really do come in here, what's up, I'm living over there, I don't know. I usually come in here honestly trying to bridge a gap, meet people in the middle, figure out like what's doable, what's possible, where we're at with things. Literally with my intention, been talking to everyone, what can we do? And after listening to folks, hearing a lot of things. When I saw who was involved with this, that was my first red flag. We don't even have to go to New Orleans. Y'all have Brian Spencer part of this. That's enough for me. It confirms that this process was not set up for us to win in the first place. Moving forward, I don't think we're asking for anything unreasonable to make this a no-no. Pause the process for all I care at this point. Your community is telling you, your constituents, y'all don't door knock. They do. Come on. Come on. Y'all have to listen to the people who are going to be out on the floor for them. They are at the table. We are at the table. Yes. This matters for all of us. Environmental concerns. Where's the money going? Who are the people that are at the table making a plan? What does it mean? People not being able to really be a part of hearing what's to come. Everybody's in chaos, everybody's moved. Like, what is happening? I know what we're asking for. Just the bare minimum is asking for a community table and an advisory board made up of the real people. That is the bare minimum. If we don't get that, then what are we even doing? We need a real procurement process where we actually have somebody step up and tell people that are living in that area, especially, that they can show up to be a part of that process also. Yes. And I want to be really clear. I believe in an anti-displacement ordinance that is in place before we do anything else here. It's not up to me or anybody else in the community that doesn't get paid to make that happen. It is up to us to be a part of making it together, but we shouldn't be the ones presenting and saying, this is what we should have in place. Finally, I know we are gonna completely say this all the time, that we're demanding full transparency of everything. And every step, every process. Put up a website. Let me check the website every day like I check my bank account. That's what we need to do. That's what we're gonna have to do moving forward. This is a no for all of us. And the people here may not have time all the time. The people who are watching the live streams, they may not have time to sit here and be in these meetings because they're working class people. But like I said before, they know how to knock doors and talk to their neighbors, and they will continue to do so.
Thank you very much.
Tonight, I know whose phone was that? That was yours. What's your name? John. Nice to meet you, John. Hey, all right, I'm asking y'all to pause. Do not move forward with this. Say no to buy a district. Look locally. honest with you, if y'all vote yes, prepare. If you vote yes, prepare for the citizens to stand up and protest you at every single
Lisa Brown, and after Lisa, Kevin Gopis.
Good evening, my name is Lisa, I'm from the west side of Pensacola. I came here tonight because I deeply care about what happens to the city. Right now, Bayou District Council is guiding and writing the plan for what will happen on the old Baptist Hospital land. They're not building yet, but the plan they write will decide who gets to stay, who gets pushed out, and who gets written out of Pensacola's future. To be very clear, I do not trust Brian Spencer being connected to this project in any way. I'm saying that as someone who has watched what happened with the Hawk Shaw property, a major development with big promises about access, promises about opportunity, promises about community benefit. But what did we actually get? We got decisions made behind closed doors. We got plans that shifted away from people and toward the powerful. We got another project that did not serve the neighborhoods that needed the investment the most. Hawkshaw was supposed to be a win for Pensacola, but for many of us, especially Black and working class families, it has become another reminder that our voices don't matter once the ink dries. So when I see the same names showing up again on a project as important as the Baptist site, I have some concerns because patterns don't lie, people's track records matter. That's why we're demanding 3 things. A community table made up of real residents to help shape this plan from start to finish, protections that keep families from being pushed out before a single step of redevelopment moves forward, full transparency in every meeting, every memo, every decision put in the light of day. Pensacola deserves a process we can trust, and you cannot build trust on broken promises. You cannot build trust with the same people who helped create the very problems we're trying to fix. Thank you.
And after Kevin is Deshaun McKenzie.
My name is Kevin Govins. I am a Pensacola resident. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here because the demolition of Baptist is being treated like it's a routine demolition construction project when it's clearly a health threat to the people who live around it. That building is contaminated with black mold, asbestos, and decades of water damage. When a structure like that is demolished without airtight containment and constant air monitoring, those hazards don't stay on site. They become airborne. They go to the communities, they go to nearby people and anyone that is downwind of the project. And for miles. This is not speculation. I work in mold remediation. I've worked in Baptist. I've been a part of projects that I've had to stop because we ran into unsafe levels of asbestos. And my question is, if professionals ran into that during controlled demolition, if we are so close to the demolition, there have been no safety precautions put in order for anybody in the surrounding areas. And let's be honest, if this was anywhere where any of you live, well, they wouldn't be getting treated that way. We would have safety precautions, we would have air monitoring, we would have reports already going in about the building being stripped from the inside and being contained so that we're able to actually contain this problem. So I want to say this to City Council. Consider a simple question. If we ran into that and we were taking all possible precautions and we haven't even started taking precautions, what's going to happen 5 years after the demolition when the building's already up and the residents have mesothelioma, cancer, asthma, because that area already suffers from high asthma rates, limited access to health care. They're already living in houses that aren't up to code, so they're more susceptible to mold and asbestos, so they're dealing with it inside, and now you're going to fill the outside air with it. It's just not a good idea. This didn't happen here. Instead, the community is being asked to trust the process that we weren't even invited into. This difference has a name. This is environmental racism. Today, we're not asking politely. We're demanding for responsible governance. Release the environmental data, implement independent air quality monitoring, and build a demolition plan that protects people, not just timelines and budgets, because clean air is not a luxury, safety is not optional, no neighborhood in this city is disposable. This is manipulation, this is racism, this is capitalism over community health. Mayor Reeves, city council members, if you vote yes on this issue, you're being very clear which side of history you want to be on and where your priorities lie.
Good evening. My name is Deshaun. I'm a middle school teacher here at Pensacola and community organizer. I came back to say that I was raised not to trust what people say, but to trust what they do. In reading numerous articles, primary sources, and first-hand accounts, it is very apparent to me that Bayou District Consulting, regardless of what they say, has done irreparable harm to the people of the St. Bernard Public Housing Authority. While their PR agents say that crime rates dropped significantly, what they did was violently remove black people who were already over-policed and over-jailed. While their PR reps say that school quality's improved, what they did was remove the people from the neighborhood that New Orleans didn't want to invest in the first place, and put in people that the city would invest in quality education and quality schools. What they say is that it was Hurricane Katrina who displaced those residents. What they did was take advantage of a natural disaster to steal a disregarded and underfunded area for the profits of those who already have too much. Much like a corporation named Lauren has done in Pensacola since 2022, an issue that we've come to y'all before about around affordable housing after the hurricane. And while they say that the residents were welcome to come back, they bulldoze homes with people's belongings still in them, having black folks watch as all their possessions and their memories, because a community isn't just what you own, it's what you live and what you experience. Why have people stand by and watch as they bulldoze those memories right in front of them? What they say is they wanted community input, but what they did was pepper spray, tase, and arrest the residents who did their civic duty and go to their city council meetings, demanding their homes be kept, much like everyone in this room is doing right now. And as the people in this room reject this contract, will we be treated the same? Gentrification doesn't happen in broad daylight. It happens in closed-door meetings with based on lies, peddlers' promises after deals are already cut. We don't want community oversight of the deals you've already made. And we don't need community forums after your plans are written. I've been to plenty of community forums both in the city and the county, and very often the people will come with what they want, what they need, and then afterwards we sit around and listen to the city officials, ignore everything we say, make their points and vote the way they plan to anyway. We've seen it here in city council, I've been to community gun violence forums, and the same thing happens every time. We don't want community input, because you've already made your decisions. We want community control, because that piece of land belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to you or the developers. And we want community say and decision-making power. And not only do we want it today, we don't want it in 6 months after this contract runs out. And in fact, we want it retroactive to 2023, when our mayor, the gentrifier and chief of this city, the do-boy for the city's richest developers, decided this company was going to come in to do to Baptist what happened to the St. Bernard housing project. This vote should be a clear no. And anybody who votes yes, anybody on this body who has the nerve to vote yes still, should be ashamed of themselves.
Thank you.
My time is also I don't know exactly what I'm assuming my time. This vote should be a clear no, and anybody who votes yes ought to be ashamed of themselves, because we were elected to be right by the people. But if you choose to vote yes, then you are choosing the glitz and glam of millionaire developers over working class people all throughout this city. If you choose to vote yes, shame will be the least of your worries. However you vote tonight, the people are not going to yield this neighborhood to the richest developers of this town. A people's movement will not stop tonight, it's just getting started. And the people of Pensacola know what this gentrification effort is, and we will not back down.
Jasmine Brown, and I'm here again as a lifelong resident of the city to demand that you not side with the developers over the community again. To ask that you act like you have some foresight, to act like you have the broader community's best interests at heart, or to at least act like you're not gullible. We've heard that these plans have been in motion since 2023, as we've heard tonight. And remember the last time I was up here where I said that you have to be in the know to know what the city is up to? How the community is always caught on our back foot? This is a prime example of that. This project should have been community-led from the jump, not after the backdoor conversations. No matter what some of your well-intentions may be, the entire body will continue to get backlash if you continue to be the mayor's puppets. We're sick of letting a handful of wealthy elite play games with this city, play with our neighborhoods, while y'all play in our faces. Bayou District is responsible for the forced displacement of around 1,000 black residents of St. Bernard's housing project, which we have heard of tonight, which is now Columbia Park. Their PR campaign says Hurricane Katrina displaced those people and their hands are clean because they made half-baked attempts to consult the community. Those bad faith meetings didn't prevent the residents from being displaced. And it's the contribution to rising property taxes and housing costs and further criminalization of homelessness that causes displacement. Our city misleadership not only doesn't put up a fight against the greed, y'all rolled out a red carpet for these parasitic developers to court dilapidated sites and neglected communities. Concerns aren't enough. You need to make it right. We should look at what happened at the St. Bernard residents as a warning, not a model for inspiration. We know what displacement looks like. Several examples have been laid out tonight, and you will validate these concerns and pleas by signing with Bayou District. And that's why we are building a movement. That's why we build a movement to hold a memory of the city, to have a force that collectively keeps track of your decisions. Your constituents shouldn't have to investigate you and the developers you bring into our neighborhoods, but we do. Misleadership of this kind and lack of discernment disempowers us, but it requires us to fight back harder and smarter. But if you want to vote like untrustworthy leaders, we'll continue to build our own structures to combat gentrification, to protect and defend our community. We will continue exposing your shady deals, and we will continue educating people on the tricks you play and the superficial community workshop efforts. You are not slick and we are not dumb. When you make a spineless vote tonight in favor of siding with Bayou Consulting, you're communicating to us that you're refusing to lead in good faith, and you will continue to choose the pursuit of profit over this community. I stand with fully rejecting this company, and the city should vote no on this contract. Thank you.
And after Mr. Scott is Andrea Adams.
Good evening, Derek Scott. I'm not a city resident, but I am a multiple residential property owner in the city of Pensacola. I'm here today because Pensacola is at a crossroads, and the decisions that you make about the old Baptist Hospital site will determine whether our black communities survive or get erased. We have seen this playbook before. The Bayou District Consulting used it in New Orleans. They wrapped it in beautiful language about revitalization, mixed income development, holistic transformation, but the outcome was devastating. St. Bernard was demolished. In its place came a mixed income development with strict screening rules and far fewer affordable housing options. The result, 90% of black families who lived there were shut out. That's not revitalization, that's removal. That's displacement dressed up as progress. And now the same model is being brought to Pensacola. Let's be clear, the Baptist Hospital site sits next to some of the oldest and strongest black neighborhoods in this city. These neighborhoods have survived segregation, urban renewal, redlining, and decades of disinvestment. What they cannot survive is a redevelopment plan that prices out the very people who have held these communities together. When a model reduces deeply affordable housing, when it replaces community control with private partnerships, when it raises land values and property taxes so fast that the families can't keep up, it's not an accident that black people are pushed out. It's the design. That's exactly what happened in New Orleans, and it will happen here unless you stop it. We cannot afford to be polite about this right now. We can't pretend that displacement is an unfortunate side effect. It is the unfortunate predictable outcome. And when people being displaced are overwhelmingly black, it becomes a racial justice issue. One this council cannot and must not ignore.
You have a choice. You can allow transformational projects that transform the neighborhood by removing the people who live there, or you can stand on the side of families who built Pensacola, raised their children here, worshiped here, and kept the communities alive despite every obstacle. What does justice look like? It looks like no net loss of deeply affordable housing, right to return that is real, not blocked by background checks that they use, credit scores, or income thresholds. Community-driven planning, not private developers making decisions behind closed doors. And guaranteed protections for current residents against rising rents and property taxes. This city has a responsibility to protect its people, not to clear a path for developers to profit while Black families are pushed out of their own neighborhoods. Do not repeat the mistakes of the past. We're looking at you, those who have elections come up in 2026. Please know the decisions you make will ultimately be your last term here. We thank you.
And I'm back to Maka Hayes.
Hello everybody, how you doing today? Alright, so my name is Andre Adams and I'm a Pensacola resident. And I'm tired of not being included like the rest of the city. So we're using an out-of-town development company to push out families, and it's not fair, it's definitely wrong, and let me slow down a little bit. Alright, so it's always a money game, but money never goes to who it actually needs to. What y'all are doing isn't right, and voices aren't being heard. The people of Pensacola don't deserve a rush of the city that didn't include how people feel. We are not going to sit here and allow you to push us out of our homes for money that we'll never see. The people who are being affected are never considered or even brought to the table to discuss anything. And to clarify something that was mentioned, we are not just asking for low-income housing. We are asking for the opportunity to choose how to grow out of the concrete that we were placed in, and we want forward motion. Also, exposure from asbestos. So, as a military veteran, I know a lot about asbestos. They don't really fix it a lot. And it's bad for breathing, it's bad for the community, and honestly, I think they're going to cut corners with this demolition. And honestly, if it was in you guys' area where you reside, I don't think it would happen. One thing that we really deserve is a community table for regular people to help shape this plan, rules that protect families from being pushed out, and full truth and transparency, all notes, meetings, and plans be shared publicly. I can make a website in about an hour. I know y'all can too, and I know y'all got the money to. So I suggest you do something to help the people of Pensacola actually understand what's going on and have a voice in everything that's going on. Thank you.
Hayes. Ms. Hayes, no, not Doris, Tamika or Tamaka?
Yeah, she had to go.
Oh, she had to go, okay, thank you. Rebecca Galloway.
She had to go.
Okay,
They said no though.
Tamara Hamilton? Is Ms. Hamilton here? Okay, great. Then after Ms. Hamilton, Deanne Caldwell.
Good evening, my name is Milana Hamilton, and I stand before you tonight not just as a resident, but as a parent, a neighbor, a business owner, and a person who loves the city deeply. I grew up on Jordan Street, just blocks away from the old Baptist Hospital. Pensacola has always been a place where families plan groups where grandparents live down the streets from their grandchildren, and teachers call the same families for generations. Kids grew up together, they played together, and they stayed together long after graduation. That sense of community is what made Pensacola home, not just a location on the map. But today, that home is slipping out of reach for many of us. Families are being forced to make heartbreaking decisions, paying rent or buy groceries, move farther away from their jobs, or uproot their children from the schools that they know. Parents who work full-time jobs here in Pensacola can no longer afford to live in the very city that we're serving. Seniors are on fixed incomes, are watching the cost of living rise faster than their ability to keep up. We're not just losing affordability, we're losing people. We're losing the daycare workers who care for our babies, the bus drivers who drive our kids to school, the volunteers who coach on every weekend. The grandmother who's lived in the same neighborhood for 40 years and now fears displacement. Rents are rising faster than wages. Long-time residents are being priced out, and new developments are catering to tourists and high-income residents instead of working families who make the city run. Teachers, first responders, and small business employees, like child care workers and seniors on fixed incomes, are struggling. We're forced to live further away, overcrowd homes, or just leave the city entirely. When families are pushed out, our schools suffer, our workforce weakens, and our community fabric begins to unravel. Growth should not mean removal. Progress should come, but not at the cost of our families. And I want to be clear, I'm not against growth. Growth can be powerful when it is done responsibly and inclusively. What I and many others are asking is for balanced development. Development that protects families, prioritizes affordability, and preserves a part of the city. We need the stronger protection against excessive rent increases, housing that families can actually afford, zoning policies that support families and not displace them, and the development strategies that value people just as much as profit. A truly successful city is one where teachers can live near their schools, where grandparents can age in place, and children can grow up without their families being pushed out because of the rising costs. I'm asking you tonight, don't let the neighborhood become a place where only wealthy people belong. Don't let this development erase the very soul of Pensacola. Protect the families, protect the workers, and protect the people who have roots and stability in these neighborhoods. Because Pensacola is more than buildings, property lines, and profits. It is people. So I urge the council to listen to the voices of the families, workers, and long-time residents who are struggling to stay. We're not asking for social agreement, we're asking for a fair opportunity to remain in the neighborhood and the cities that we love. Thank you.
I know the interview on battery about to die. Low battery.
Rebecca Galloway. Okay, Tawana Hamilton.
That's what just went.
Sorry, that's my fault. This is a little confusing the way people are showing up here.
She said something about that person.
Yeah, Deanne Caldwell. No, Deanne.
About to cut it down, man.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Diane Caldwell, and I stand here as a black resident, property owner in both the city and the county. And someone who refuses to sit quietly while my community is pushed out and erased. What's happening around Baptist Hospital area and with the Bayou District is not revitalization, it's replacement. You are rebuilding not for us, but for white people and wealthier newcomers. People who can sell their homes in places like California and other high-cost cities come down here and buy into our neighborhoods at prices black families will never be able to afford once you're done. And then you call it progress. Let's be honest about what happens next. You rebuild, property values rise, taxes climb, rents jump, and the black families who kept these neighborhoods alive for generations are priced out and pushed out. So I want to ask you directly, where are we supposed to go? This kind of development does not create space for us. It creates a polished, expensive version of our community that we are locked out of. The people who built the culture, protect the elders, and raise their children there are treated like they're in the way of somebody else's dream. Some of you sitting up here have families who grew up in these same areas. Your grandparents, your parents, your elders, all walk the same streets, and you know the history. You know the struggle. So why would you go along with a plan that erases the very people whose stories built this place? You are elected to be our voice, not the voice of developers, not the voice of outside money, not the voice of the Bayou District, but the voice of the people who live here now. From where I stand, the Bayou District does not like to partner. Too many of us, it behaves like a violent, careless machine that has treated the citizens of New Orleans and St. Bernard Parish like they were nothing. And these are the people you want to align yourselves with. If that's the side you choose, then you are acting like a modern-day gang, taking over our streets by force. Not with guns and colors, but with contracts and council voices. In that case, you are not a representation of us. You start to look like minions of the DC Reeds mob. Moving at his command, carrying out his agenda, and helping make Black people in Pensacola feel like we're being pushed towards extinction in our own city. And while we're letting them come in and spend all of this money just to make Pensacola look good on paper and in pictures, let's tell the truth. The real issues are still right in front of us. Homelessness, substance abuse, and gun violence. We ask you all to vote no.
Thank you, Ms. Caldwell.
And that's what we stand here.
I am the Reverend Dr. Jonathan Gear Green. How are you? Serious. It's funny that during this time of the holiday season, we're being asked to consider how we make an environment safe for people that we're not practicing what we preach, right? So, I practice this liberation. You know, I grew up in St. Joseph's Catholic Church, but gotta think outside the box sometimes. So, with liberation theory, I remember there was this scripture I read one time in James. It says, the same measure you use to judge will be measured upon you. So, let's not judge others for doing things differently than we do. If we just focus on our individual freedoms and how we can be our individual freest under this Constitution. But what's up with this Constitution? It's weird to have, for instance, contracts that if we're supposed to have the lowest bidder, that it seems our government picks and chooses when a more responsible bid must be considered for your friends because it's a higher bid versus the lowest bidder, which emphasizes the Black community from getting bids, even if they're the lowest. No equity. But wait, you can't say equity, DEI, and all those things. But wait, we don't have to. I pledge of allegiance, liberty, freedom, justice, fairness for everyone. It's written on it. You don't need a policy. So, liberation theory. How can we practice what we preach in this season of giving? Well, it's constitutional principles that are very simple that the Supreme Court has long ago decided. And it's about discrimination that sums all of the city's issues up. Is it discriminatory on its face or as applied? On its face means how it's written. As applied is how you apply it. So, Mayor, I would love if you could sign a permit for me to get Wahoo Stadium under your name so I can be absolved from like foods, not bombs. I want that kind of deal. Anybody want that kind of mayoral treatment? Let's go. Do it for everyone. You can't discriminate. They can choose who you do it for or don't do it for. How do I distinguish between a sidewalk and a park? Imagine Palafox. Will that be a park now? And now I can't walk downtown? Reminds me of the sit-in that my grandmother, when that placard was dedicated downtown at Palafox and Garden, that she used to march my mother and my aunts and my family being here over 100 years, being impoverished, a war on poverty, so the police can bother the community.
Sean Kent.